What's up everybody, it's your boy Caesar. So today we're going to be taking a look at the Mazinkaiser from RIOBOT. Now this is one of the special editions that they had, so it's a chrome silver version. So we're going to be taking a look at that today. Let's not waste any more time, let's go. So let's see what we have inside, shall we? So let's pull this out here. So first, it looks like we've got Mazinkaiser here. So he's looking pretty good so far. You've got the two shoulder swords there. Looks like you've got the hilts there as well. You've got some effect parts here and here. You've got the giant missile. You've got the powders here with the, looks like you've got 3 sets of hands, more effect parts for his rocket punch, and the final Kaiser blade there. So we've got that. And then let's see what we've got in here. And then this is the Kaiser Scrander. This is pretty big. So you've got the 2 back fins there, and then you've got the wings there with the center there. So you've got that. And then looks like you've got the manual in here. So we've got that. And then we've got the stand with all of the parts for that as well. So pretty interesting. This one says R14 RIOBOT Mazinkaiser. So we have that. So that's what we have in the box. So let's take a look at Mazinkaiser himself. So let's take a look at this activation version of Mazinkaiser. Of course, I got to get the white gloves out because this one has a lot of chrome. So of course, that's the first thing that's very noticeable about this guy. Now, I will say that this pretty much, the Mazinkaiser has gone through a couple of different releases for RIOBOT. Pretty much there was 3 releases. So there was the original release, there was this release, which is the activation release, and you have the 2022 kind of like re-release. And that one had a little bit more tight joints. So this one can be relatively loose when it comes to the joints. Now, you have to remember that when I bought this one was used. So I don't know if the loose joints on this guy is because of it being old or if that's the actual design itself. Now, a lot of this stuff has been fixed in the re-release in 2022, but I would say overall, I do like the chrome plating here. And I would say, considering that this one came out in 2017, so this is almost 10 years old, but I would say generally speaking, I still think that it looks very, very good. Sentinel has always done really good when it comes to detail and stuff like that. So I think that it looks really, really good. And I would say generally speaking that the chrome plating looks pretty good as well, considering this guy is used. So that's the reason why I don't really have a problem buying used stuff from Japan, because most of the time they usually take care of their stuff. So I don't really see any blemishes or anything like that, but I will say that it is a little bit floppy. You can see how it's kind of leaning back there. Now there may be a fix so I can kind of fix that, but I won't be able to go over that in this review. But I think overall, I think it looks really, really good. Looks like it has quite a bit of articulation as well. So I don't really see too much to dislike here, even though I would kind of prefer a little bit tighter joints at first look. So what we'll do now is we'll take a look at Mazinkaiser's accessories. So let's take a look at Mazinkaiser's accessories. So first up, we have the 2 Kaiser swords. These are the ones that go on his shoulder. So as you can see, it has a really nice shine. So you do get those. You also get 2 of the hilts. So you can simulate him taking these out of his shoulders. So you do get 2 of those as well. But I'd say overall it looks pretty good. And then you get the giant missile. So as you know, as in other Mazinkaiser reviews that I've done, this is the missile that comes out of his abdomen. So you do have a missile for that. Then you get 2 of the Kaiser powders. So you have the one that actually goes in his head. That's the short one here. And then you get the long one, so that is for display. This one does not transform, but you do get 2 of the powders. Then you get the final Kaiser blade. Now this one is different from the original release, as this one has like the kanji or whatever for, I guess it's like demon or majin or something like that. So it has that insignia in the center instead of a Z. I don't even know if you can see that. You'd probably have to have a light shine on it, but you do get that. And then you also get the hilt to simulate him pulling that out of his chest as well. So you do get those 2 for the final Kaiser blade. And then you have the effect parts for the Turbo Smasher Punch. So these are his effect parts here. So you get 2 of those, 1 for each arm, of course. You get the 2 for his shoulders here. So you get those 2 as well. Of course, I can't hold all of this, but you get those 2 as well. And then you get the effect part for the chest piece when he's pulling out the final Kaiser blade. So you get those. And then you get the 2 shoulder pieces so you can simulate the swords being pulled out. So you get 2 of those as well, even though, let's see if you can see that there. So you get those, so you just snap those in. That's what you have for most of his effect pieces. Mazinkaiser also gets 4 sets of hands. So of course he has the closed fist on him. He has the stop hands there. with the sword hands and the wide open hands. So you do get a set of those. So we've seen those in other RIOBOT Mazinger releases, so you get those for the hands. And then lastly, we have the Kaiser Scrander. So let's go ahead and put this together. This is pretty big, and I would say it's probably bigger than the Mazinger Zero and the Great Mazinkaiser one. But let's go ahead and put this guy together here. So it looks pretty simple. I don't think we'll have any problems here. So let's go put that in there, and then these go here. So it looks really, really good. I do like how this Mazinkaiser looks. It's pretty awesome here. And then we'll put this guy in here. I think that's how you have it. Let's make sure that that's in there nice and snug. Boom. And there you have it. So that's the Kaiser Scrander as well. And of course, we'll put that on here later in the review. So let's take a look at Mazinkaiser's articulation. For the head, it can go up. It has the ball joint at the bottom of the neck. We've seen that in other RIOBOT ones. It goes down. You do have side to side. You got a little bit there. So you got a little bit of side to side. All right, can it do 360? I would say yes. And then also the horns can move on the sides as well. If I can get him to, there we go. So you can kind of move the horns as you see fit as well. So those move as well. So that's what you have for the head. For the shoulder, of course, this front piece will move. All right, so you do have that. Let's move him up. So he'll go about shoulder length there, a little bit more. Can it do 360? Now for this shoulder, in order to kind of move this 360, this is on this kind of like sliding track, this part here. And so you can actually remove this, and I'm just gonna do this just for the articulation section so we can see how his shoulder actually moves. But it does look like you can get 360 on there, but you're probably gonna have to have that removed off of there. And so it can do it, but I don't know if that's actually practical, and then it will just snap back on there. If I can put that back on there like that. So that's what you have there. So for the shoulder, you can see this ball joint here. So you can move that in and it will go out. So you can kind of see that on the back part there. So you do have that for the shoulder. For the bicep, let's see if we can get this to turn 360. It looks like it will. So you do have that there. Let's take a look at the elbow. So it does have this part here. Now, what I've noticed is that this piece here does like to come off. I don't know if that's just mine because it's old or if it's supposed to do that, but you do kind of have that there. So that's all you've got for the elbow bend. Now let's see if it's got the elbow bend kind of like the Great Mazinkaiser and the Mazinger Zero did. So see if we can bend that a little bit more. And yes, it does. So you have the double hinge as that part falls off, like I said. So you got the double hinge here and here for the elbow. And then this piece can go back on there. So even if it falls off, it's not really that big of a deal. You just kind of have to put it back in here like that. So you can't just have that kind of snapped back in there and that will kind of rest back in there. Then you would just fold that back in there like that. But I have noticed that these will come off on mine. So I don't know if that's just because of this particular figure or if those are supposed to fall off like that. But that's what you have for the bicep. And then for the forearm, it will move roughly about 45 degrees. But as you guys know with Mazingers, this has the part for the rocket punch. So of course you would just pull this off and it'll come off like that there for his rocket punch. So that's what's limiting that movement there. But that's what you have for the forearm. And then for the wrist, this will move in and out, up and down. So you do get wide range of movement there. Of course, this is on a peg here, so you're not really gonna get much movement out of the actual fist itself, but the wrist is all at this part here. So that's what you have for the wrist. For the chest, now first for the fins, they don't really move, but they do go in. So I guess that's for you, so you can move the shoulders in when he's doing kind of like the Obari style pose. So they do have that, even though it doesn't really move. You do get 2 points of articulation here at the top here, the black part, and then here at the bottom. So this will spin kind of like that. And I would say that's about between 45 and 90 degrees. So you can get that, and it will go up at the chest. This is where the giant missile would be here. So you do get that. You do get some side to side there. So really good there. Let's see if it can spin 360. And I would say no, but you're gonna get 90 degrees there, but it does not look like this part at the bottom wants to spin at all. So that's what you have for the midsection. For the waist section, he doesn't really have any front or side skirts. So, but these will move up this side here to move up and down. That'll kind of go with the legs when we do that. And then for the back there's not much. It's almost like he's wearing a diaper kind of, but that's what you've got for the waist section. There's not really much here. Now for the thigh area, of course, this will move. It looks like it's on a track, even though it's really not, but you can move that part there. The actual upper thigh, you can move that up so you can see, and you can see how that belt goes up. Now, Mine is a little loose in this area here and in the midsection part there, but overall he can still has a wide range of movement there. So I would say really good for the upper thigh. Let's see how high he can raise this. So of course, without the belt falling off, he's got about like that. Now, like I said, mine is quite loose. So as you see, mine does not want to stay. Mine will just collapse on itself. Now there is a way to fix that, and I've talked about that in other reviews, so I'm not that upset about this, but I would say generally speaking, but I would say without it actually flopping down, that goes to about 100 degrees. I wouldn't say it's that much. And then let's see for the knee, you see how that goes in there. And then of course, we've always seen the fold in on the back of the calf there. So as you bend the knee, those go in on itself. So you do have a really good V there. For the feet, it will go up. It will go down. This does not have the double pull down that the Mazinger Zero has, but you still got a pretty good wide range of movement. You can spin it probably about 45 degrees. Mine's a tad bit looser than I would prefer, but I think overall, I still think it's quite good there for the foot. So that's what we have for articulation for this Mazinkaiser. I would say generally that it is pretty good. However, because on mine, there are some joints that are loose, mainly the midsection here. His center of gravity almost seems off. It just kind of goes back. It's like the weight of the front, the torso is kind of like, so his center of gravity just kind of seems off. And with this being looser than I would like, I don't really like that as much. And then also with the leg, seeing how when I tried to raise the leg, it just automatically fell down. I really don't like that either. So this would probably be one that I'd have to put on a stand. Now there are ways to kind of bulk up the joints, as you've heard me talk about before in other reviews. So I'm not as upset with this, especially since I know that this is kind of like a limited edition and it's very hard to find. So I was willing to take my chances on it, but that's what we've got for articulation. So here we have Mazinkaiser with the Kaiser Scrander on. Now there is a glaring issue for this, and I'm gonna show you what it is. What it is this midsection cannot support the weight of the Kaiser Scrander and the torso. Remember how I was saying I felt like the center of gravity was slightly off? I think this is why. So if we turn it to the side, I want you to see how far this Mazinkaiser is leaning forward. Look at that. That is a Moonwalker style lean there. So it does not like to do it. If it sets up, it will fall off. So I'll show you what I mean. When you do this and you kind of raise that up, that just barely wants to stay, and boom, it automatically falls over like this. Now, I do believe that this can be fixed, but the fact that this can't support its own weight, now, is it because this one is old, or is it because this one is used? Maybe if this was brand new and the joints were a little bit tighter, but as I've said throughout the review, that the original first two versions of Mazinkaiser, this is the second one, and then they had the 2016 version that wasn't chrome plated, had this problem. So as you can see, it just can't support the weight of the Kaiser Scrander, unfortunately. So that's not very good, but I do think with a little bit of tinkering on my part, I could probably get this to work. This is where my model building skills come in. You can kind of thicken up joints and kind of make them a little bit tighter for this guy, especially since a lot of his joints tend to be a little bit loose. So that's unfortunate, but I would say that it does look nice though. I do like the Kaiser Scrander. I do like how it looks. It does not move. I mean, it doesn't really move at all. So you can kind of get how that connection piece works in the back is a little strange to me as well, because it doesn't really clasp in there all that well. It's like a little slot here and you kind of just slide it in. And I guess they're just using basic friction in order to keep that in there, but I don't really like how that is. I think that could be done a lot better. And I'd be interested to see what the 2022 re-release of this guy, what that would do as far as his joints being tighter. Cause yeah, that's a significant, if he can't even support the weight of the Kaiser Scrander at all, that's not good. So, but I think overall, I think it still does look good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna get the base out and we'll get him airborne and let's see if that can help him out a little bit. So here we have Mazinkaiser with his base. Now his base is pretty much propping him up the whole way through. And there's a little clip here that you kind of slide this in. There's two ways to have him connected, but I think that this way is probably the best. Now, I will say that it does look really, really good. The fact that he can't stand up under his own power is a definite knock against him. Now, whether or not that's just this specific figure that I have in front of me, or if that was the design, because I know that the midsection has been a problem for the Mazinkaiser, especially the first two releases, with this one being the second one. So I think that it does look good. I think that this definitely has a shelf presence. I really do like the Kaiser Scrander. I think how the Kaiser Scrander looks, it looks exactly how it looked in the OVA. And I think that that is really, really cool how they did that. So it can stand, but unfortunately it's going to need the support of the stand in order to do it. And I think that that is unfortunate. So what we'll do now is we'll do a little bit of posing and see what this guy can do. So here we have Mazinkaiser doing his Turbo Smasher Punch. So this looks really, really good. I've never really been satisfied with the effect parts, especially for Sentinel or RIOBOT. I don't know, it just seems like there could be a little bit more flair here, but I do like this. Now, there is something interesting that you can do, because this is a sectional on this base here. And what you can do is you can section this part off and you can have the stand here. So if you want to simulate him doing his Turbo Smasher Punch this way, the only issue that I have with it is that this arm here is too small. It's just, it needs to be taller. So that's the issue here. So because if I have it like this, then the arm is going to be all the way down here, especially if I'm gonna have it angled this way. You see how short that is in comparison? So you can look at it from the side. So it doesn't look right. Now, maybe if he wasn't standing on his base, it would be a little bit better. And I noticed that even with the Mazinger Zero, that had the same problem, where I don't think that the stem is long enough. So I wish that they would give us longer stems so you can actually simulate it properly. But I think overall, I like how this looks. And we'll do one more pose. What I'll do is I'll bring out the emulate the final Kaiser blade, because even with the Blitzwave version, if you remember that effect piece for the middle of the chest part, I did not like how that stayed on. So I want to see how this one works in contrast to that. So we'll do that. So here we have Mazinkaiser simulating when the final Kaiser blade is coming out of his chest. I will say that this looks remarkable as far as how it looks. I will say that once he doesn't have the Kaiser Scrander on, he still has enough tension in the joints that he can stand, but it is still kind of like a trick to kind of get him to stand properly. But I think overall, I think this looks really, really good. And also, in transparency, I want to show you guys something. Let me push this back. Now, when I was trying to do this pose, I actually broke the Kaiser Scrander. And what it is it's the parts for the fins here. When I was pulling this out of his back, for whatever reason, this fin fell off and it snapped in two. And I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see. Yeah, if you can see that there, that literally has been split in half. So just this falling out of the Kaiser Scrander, because I didn't even touch it, it did break. So unfortunately, I could probably glue it in there, but it would have to stay in. I can't take it out. So that's unfortunate here, but I could probably work my way around it. My model building skills will kind of come into play when it comes to that. But that's unfortunate that snapped off like that, because really, it's not really that difficult to come out. And that's how it should look. And then that's how it looks. So as you can see, if you look at the difference there, how this is the one how it should be, and as you can see, that just got snapped right in half, just coming out. And like I said, I didn't touch it when that happened. So that's unfortunate when it comes to the Kaiser Scrander. Maybe I'll just have it like this and take the fins off. I don't know. We'll see what we'll do. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some size comparisons. I'm gonna bring out the other RIOBOT Mazinkaiser figures that I have, and we'll take a look at that and see what they look like standing side by side. So here we're going to do some size comparisons with this Mazinkaiser. I'm going to bring out some of the other figures and see how he stacks up next to them. Now, for this segment, I actually did want to put the Kaiser Scrander on there, but unfortunately, just because of that weakness in that midsection there, it's not possible. He needs the stand, and I didn't want to do the stand for this section. So we're going to have him without his stand. But first, what I'm going to bring out is I'm going to bring out the metal build Great Mazinger. So as you can see, they're roughly the same size, I would say. So you do have him there. Now, of course, this is two different companies. One is Bandai, of course, Mazinger is Bandai, and this one is RIOBOT. Now, from an aesthetic standpoint, I like the RIOBOT ones a little bit better, even though you see how the torso section, he's a lot lankier than with the Great Mazinger. And also this is the Infinity version versus this is kind of like the normal version of Mazinkaiser. So you do have that, even though I would say that he might slightly be taller than him, but it could just be the way that he's standing as well. So that's what you have for Great Mazinger. And then we're gonna bring out Great Mazinkaiser. So of course, Great Mazinkaiser is the upgraded version of Great Mazinger, and he is bigger than Mazinkaiser. And also, he doesn't have a problem standing. And you can kind of see, especially with this one being one of the first ones that they did, that you can kind of see how it's evolved with the Great Mazinkaiser. This one does not have a problem standing. There are some issues I have with it, but it ain't that. So, but I think that looks good. You can kind of see aesthetically how they're very, very similar. You see the die cast separation here on the sides here, to where this one lacks some of the die cast in the key areas that it needs in comparison to the Great Mazinkaiser. So that's what you have for Great Mazinkaiser. And then lastly, of course, I'm gonna bring out the crown jewel. Let's see if I can even get him in the shot here. Let's actually move Great Mazinger out, and let's bring in Mazinger Zero. So as you guys know, Mazinger Zero is amazing. I love Mazinger Zero. I think that this is probably the best of the three, even though there is a good figure here with Mazinkaiser. I think that Mazinkaiser, he really lacks die cast in the key areas that he needs. And that is his number one, and that is his greatest flaw here. Even though I don't like the connection point for the Kaiser Scrander either, but just from a size standpoint, you can tell that Mazinger Zero and Great Mazinkaiser are bigger than this Mazinkaiser, and that they fixed the flaws that this one has. They fixed that with those two. So I think that is really cool. So I think it looks really, really good. Looking at all three of them together, all of the Mazingers, the RIOBOT versions. So I do like this. So now we'll get into final thoughts. So final thoughts on this guy. My. What a tragedy this figure is. Now, let's start out with the good points. The good points are, I love the chrome plating. I love the chrome plating here. It looks very, very good. It's definitely aesthetically pleasing. I like the articulation that this Mazinkaiser has as well. His articulation is really, really good. And I can see how this was kind of like the basis for most of the RIOBOT figures that we've gotten in the Mazinger line for a while. And you can kind of see what they were trying to do here. And I think that the accessories that you get here are really, really good. From the turbo rocket punch that he's got to the shoulder swords, the final Kaiser blade, the Kaiser Scrander looks amazing when it actually works. I think that there is a lot to like here, but there are some glaring issues. And I would say out of most of the figures that I've bought, I would say this has the most glaring problems. Number one, the joints are super weak. They will not hold together. Now, whether that's because they didn't have enough die cast in there or not. Now, the thing about this Mazinkaiser release, because this is the activated version or the activation version, The problem with this one is this is the second of 3 releases. The first 2 releases are basically these two. There was the one that was originally released in 2016. You have this one, which was the 2017 version. And then you have like a 2.0 or like a revised version that came out in 2022. And this one is the only one that has the chrome plating though. So the other two, the first release and the third release, look relatively the same, even though I've heard that the third release is slightly brighter than the original release that came out in 2016. And I think there is a good figure here. There really is, but the ab joint that kind of holds that all together, apparently in the first 2 releases, that was plastic, and it definitely shows. It cannot support the die cast that it has on its upper torso. It can't support it. And anytime without the stand, anytime you are trying to put the Scrander on, it cannot support all of that weight altogether. It can barely support the weight without the Scrander on. And with the Scrander, it can't hold it. It just can't. And the waist joints are not very tight either. Those need to be tightened up quite a bit. And not to say that those things can't be fixed. I think if you are a modeler, you're in the model building, the gunplug community, I don't think you'll have a problem fixing some of the problems that I have with this guy, but I have to judge it based on out of the box. And I think that the joints are just too weak. Also, the knee joints are very weak as well. I would like those to be a lot tighter. The Kaiser Scrander, that connection is trash. I do not like that connection at all. And I can see that one breaking as well. The elbow joints, as far as the back elbow plate, that thing comes out all of the time. That is not a good fit how they did that. It's not good at all. And anytime you are posing the arms or where you have to bend the elbow, those pieces are just falling off. And it's a pain in the butt to try to get all of that stuff working together. So it's very unfortunate that this one turned out to be this way. Now, would I consider getting the third release? Because I know that apparently they fixed a lot of the problems that was in this release and the first release. I don't know. The thing about RIOBOTs are very, very expensive. And I don't remember how much I paid for this guy, because if you guys remember, I did buy this guy when I was in Japan. And finding this guy brand new is going to pretty much be impossible. I don't think that they are releasing this figure in Japan anymore. And so it's really, you just have to go on the secondhand market. And as you can see, the secondhand market is going to be a crapshoot. You don't know if you're going to get one where the joints are very good, especially if the joints were already weak just out of the factory and then it's been used as well. I don't know if I would chance getting this. And then also having the fins on the Kaiser Scrander break just when I was doing the review. I mean, that kind of knocked whatever good graces I had for this figure out. It just kind of knocked the wind out of the sails for me with this, because it looks so good and the articulation is really good and the chrome plating is really good. But unfortunately, the joints just do not hold up. They do not hold up over time. And I don't know if I would even recommend this to anybody. I mean, if you don't mind doing some cosmetic surgery like I'm about to do on this guy, then that's one thing. But even with the chrome plating and the amount that this guy costs, I would say that it's not worth it to buy this one. So if you are going to get this one, let's say you like this version of Mazinkaiser, then I would probably get the third release. The third release, the joints are tighter and they're supposed to be able to, it's supposed to support its weight a lot better than this one. But for the chrome version or the activation version, I don't think I would recommend this to anybody. So out of 10, I'm gonna give this guy like a 4. And that's really a shame, because I think if the joints were tighter and all of that, and I didn't have stuff breaking during the review and all of that, this guy would probably be close into like the 8.8, 8.9 range. But with the loose joints and the Kaiser Scrander, how that fits together, and the fact that he can't support his weight, there's just too many problems with this guy. So that's what I've got for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching the video. If you could like, comment, subscribe to the channel, I would appreciate it. Send this one out to all of the Mazinkaiser fans. If you guys are trying to reach me, you can reach me at seasonreviews@gmail.com. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.